Okay, Candidate Awad, you can unmute and go ahead.
All righty. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties here with not being able to see me while I speak as well, but my name is Mohamed Awad. I'm currently a lieutenant assigned to the jail on third shift. My background in history is in mental health. I started at 18 years of age working in group homes with troubled youth. I went on to work at the Arizona State Hospital and St. Luke's Hospital in Phoenix, which is a behavioral health hospital as well. I then went into becoming a case manager and did that until moving here in 2015. I worked a little bit at Rogers Behavioral Health Hospital before finally becoming to the Sheriff's Department in October of 2017. I had never had any background in law enforcement, nor did I really intend on joining law enforcement. However, like many other public, I had an opinion about, law enforcement and said, you know what, let me try doing it myself before just having an opinion of it. So I joined it in 2017, so I put my best foot forward, learned as much as I can, and I ended up rising to what's a lead officer in 2019, which can be considered like a sergeant position. And February of 2020, I became a lieutenant, in which I am currently now working third shift at the jail. Yeah. And I decided, was it in late of 2021, to run for sheriff.
It's just fine. So Candidate Beal, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm Tom Beal. First of all, I want to thank the Wisconsin Justice Initiative for hosting this forum. Just to give you a little about me, I've been a member of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office for just over 25 years. And in that time, I've primarily done almost everything this agency has to offer. I started out as a deputy in the Milwaukee County Jail. I worked patrol. I worked my way to detective, where I investigated crimes such from computer crimes through death investigations. Been a member of our Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office SWAT team for well over 10 years as a crisis negotiator. I was promoted to lieutenant, where I was the assistant commander of both the patrol and airport divisions. And in those roles, I assisted with divisional budgets, maintained the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office fleet of vehicles. I've also led approximately 100 deputies and sergeants through those roles. Currently, I'm a captain and a commander at the Milwaukee County Jail. And just to give you a little information on my education, I have a degree in electronics engineering through ITT Technical Institute. I have training in death and homicide investigations through the Wisconsin Department of Justice. I successfully completed courses through from leadership and police organizations through the International Association of Police Chiefs. I have basic and advanced training with the FBI in crisis negotiations. And that's what I have about me primarily.
Great. Candidate Ball.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I would also like to thank the Wisconsin Justice Initiative for holding this forum so that we get a chance to talk about the sheriff's race as well as my platform. For those of you who don't know me and I have yet had the opportunity to meet, I am Denita Ball. I am the Chief Deputy with the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. I'm second in command of the Sheriff's Office, or the undersheriff. As Sheriff Lucas was elected, he asked me to come and run the day-to-day operations of the Sheriff's Office. So I've been doing that for the last 3.5 years. And prior to that, I was in charge of Bryan and Stratton College's 3 criminal justice programs for their Wauwatosa area, the Glendale area, and the Milwaukee area. I also taught criminal justice education courses at that time. Prior to that, I had a distinguished career in law enforcement with the Milwaukee Police Department. I retired at the rank of deputy inspector, which is now an inspector. During my career on the police department. I was in leadership position for 17 of those 25 and a half years. I commanded District Number 4. I also was a commander in the Sensitive Crimes Division, the Internal Affairs Division. I implemented, organized, and commanded the Neighborhood Task Force, which is a task force of 200, a group of 200 officers who went into chronic high crime areas, and we reduced crime by double digits. I was also a field deputy or night inspector. And so I was in charge of the police operations of the police department at night, on weekends, and holidays. So I have enjoyed a distinguished law enforcement career. Additionally, I have education training in leadership positions. So which has prepared me to take this position. I've had training from agencies such as the FBI, also the Southern Police Institute, Department of Homeland Security, International Association of Chiefs of Police, Department of Justice, Northwestern University. So all of those courses, those leadership courses, have prepared me to take over and become sheriff. I also have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Criminal Justice Administration from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville. I have a master's degree from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee in Criminal Justice Administration. And I also have my PhD in Educational Leadership. I'm married to Odell. We've been married for 33 years. We have 3 children, Chris, Nick, and Jennifer, and 1 granddaughter. Thank you.
Candidate Barkow.
Thank you, Margot, and want to echo thanks to the Wisconsin Justice Initiative for everything you do to build a stronger and more just community. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Barkow. I'm a lifelong resident of our community, and for the last 24 years, I've served in the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. I currently hold the rank of inspector, and I command our Investigative Services Bureau, which encompasses criminal investigations and data-driven policing operations. I have the greatest scope of experience serving in the Sheriff's Office as a senior executive and investigative supervisor, a business systems analyst, and frontline law enforcement officer. My vision for a safe and just community is rooted in my experiences growing up on Milwaukee's north and northwest sides. I was born at St. Joseph's Hospital and raised not far away. Our family was of modest means. My dad was a butcher by trade. My mom was an accountant. We were fortunate to live in a strong, diverse, and inclusive community that took care of all of its members, no matter their race, their ethnicity, or their outlook on life. I owe a lot to my family and the community where I was raised. I had a great education in Milwaukee Public Schools and graduated from Custer High, now Barack Obama School of Technology. I became the first in my family to attend and graduate college from UWM, earning a degree in computer science and data management. And I received the support I needed to begin a career serving my community. But growing up in Milwaukee, I learned that at a young age that my race, my gender, and my orientation gave me privileges that many of my friends and indeed many of my family were not afforded. As a young man, I saw firsthand the disparate treatment received by people I knew and cared about. And living and working on the north and northwest sides of Milwaukee, I witnessed as neighborhoods like mine suffered the effects of disinvestment, exclusion, and discrimination. My life experiences are central to who I am and to my vision for our community. I want to see a Milwaukee County where violent crime, reckless driving, and a broken detention system no longer holds our community back from achieving its full potential. I want to build a Milwaukee County where your race doesn't dictate your treatment under law, where people who look like my wife, my daughter, and my son don't have to worry about being profiled when they're driving to school or work. I want to achieve a Milwaukee County where our law enforcement institutions are known nationwide for providing excellent service that respects everyone in our community. I'm running for sheriff because we are at a critical point and we need bold, decisive leadership that our community can trust. Milwaukee County Jail is in the grip of an unprecedented crisis. The situation in that facility is so appalling that it puts me at a loss for words. Violent crime and reckless driving are impacting neighborhoods all across our community. And even though the political winds may have changed, the truth has been. Law enforcement in Milwaukee County has a lot more to do to rebuild trust with those we serve. You're going to hear all of us talk about these issues, but I'm the only candidate from day one who has brought real solutions to the table and a track record of making them happen. Running with a fully developed community policing plan to restore safety to our parks, our expressways, and our county institutions. And throughout my career, I've done just that. I've used data-driven policing and evidence-based decision-making to do more with the resources we have available, improving our performance, building stronger relations with our community, and driving down costs. As a deputy sheriff, I worked in the jail's housing units before transferring to the day reporting center, a groundbreaking step forward in alternatives to incarceration. Using my degree in computer science, I helped the center build data systems to monitor and improve its performance, ultimately earning an award from the highly respected Benedict Center. As a sergeant, I redeployed deputies to cut response times at the airport. I overhauled how we serve civil process to make it more efficient and more responsive to petitioners in the case of temporary restraining orders and injunctions. As a captain, I investigated violent crime, built the cutting-edge law enforcement analytics division that uses state-of-the-art data analysis tools to make the sheriff's office a stronger and more transparent agency. As a deputy inspector, I worked and continue to work with the Community Justice Council to share information that allowed low-level nonviolent offenders to be connected with community services instead of mass incarceration. And I built a groundbreaking relationship with our Mexican Consulate General to connect immigrants charged with criminal offenses with the legal and consular services they needed. As inspector over criminal investigations, I lead our detectives in solving homicides, sexual assaults, armed robbery, and other major crimes to bring justice to the survivors. I am the most qualified candidate to lead the sheriff's office forward. I will use my experience, not just my law enforcement experience, but my experience as a member of our community to change the culture of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. Under my leadership, we will become an agency where community policing is the norm, an agency where every deputy, every correctional officer, and every employee will be expected to engage with community advocates, attend community forums, and build trust on a personal level with those that we are fortunate to serve. At the same time, we'll become a much more efficient, effective agency in reducing violent crime and reckless driving. We will restore the crisis or resolve the crisis in our jail and in our courts. I know how to use data-driven decision-making to redeploy deputies and correction officers within the system to cut down on overtime by speeding up the internal processes that have ground almost to a halt in recent years. I will restore order and safety in the jail's housing units so that people are entrusted to our care will be safe from harm. And I'll change our approach to community partners and welcome more volunteers and more community allies into the jail to provide much needed services. I'm the only candidate who would create the first ever independent jail ombudsman program in the jail to monitor our progress and investigate any shortcomings that persist. I'm going to take bold action to make our agency more accountable to the public. I have vowed to create the first ever community advisory council to weigh in on policy and build meaningful relationships between the sheriff's office and advocates throughout Milwaukee County. And to the extent allowed by law, I will use public-facing online dashboards to share data with the public regarding uses of force, incidents in our jail, and agency disciplinary proceedings. I'm also an instructor at the Sheriff's Training Academy, and I'm ready on day one to improve our training curriculum to make it more reflective of the community we serve. I'm running with clear plans to expand implicit bias training, bystander intervention training, and to make crisis intervention training mandatory for all personnel in the agency so that we de-escalate tense situations in our community, not make them worse. Thank you.
All right, so we'll open it up to questions. I do have a question from someone who I'm going to start off with, and then we'll go to Dorothy Dean after this one question that's in the chat because someone has an unstable internet connection. So the question is, why did the Sheriff's Department conduct internal investigation of just one of 4 jail deaths as reported in the Journal Sentinel and wait almost a year to do that? And do you think there is any value to such after action reviews? And for the responses, I do just ask the candidates to jump in. We don't need to go in a certain order. Just if you want to answer first, just go ahead and jump in, and then we'll go around and see who else wants to answer the question. So that's the question about the jail deaths.
Margo, I can start if that's okay. Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, and I know that the families of those that have lost loved ones in the jail are probably tired of hearing it, but it needs to be said because it's the right thing. I want to obviously extend my condolences to the families that have lost loved ones in our care. One death in the jail is one too many. It goes to what I have said about being more accountable and more transparent. As sheriff, we owe something to all the families that have suffered loss, no matter what happened. And we need to be clear on what happened and be much quicker in what happened. So as sheriff, I would work with the Office of Corporation Counsel and the District Attorney's Office to create a process that speeds up the answers that families such as the family in the most recent suicide of Breon Green and others have, while maintaining the integrity of the investigation so that they're not waiting forever to get basic answers. In addition, as I mentioned, appointing a jail ombudsman to monitor conditions in the jail and propose improvements so that we don't see tragedies like this happen again. And additionally, my last point, we need to expand mental health service resources in the jail. I will take personal responsibility for operating the jail in a safe and humane way. For far too long, the jail has been a source of great concern to our community. And let's be honest, it's currently in a state of crisis. It's time for a sheriff who will truly take personal accountability for running this facility the right way. Thank you.
Okay,
I'd just like to add to that, answer that question. I'm sorry. As Inspector Barkow said, any death is one too many, and my heart does go out to the family as well. But every death in the jail is investigated. First of all, we have an independent agency that looks at it from a criminal side, and once they finish with their investigation, then it's referred to the district attorney, who makes a determination as to if they will issue charges if there was any criminal violation. And once that portion is done, then our internal side does a review of it. All investigations are not investigated meaning that there isn't an investigation that's done, there is always a review. But an investigation may not be done if once we review, there isn't any internal violations that were brought forth in the investigation. And as far as this case that you're referring to, the reason it took so long was because there was an internal review. And so it was decided that an internal investigation would be done. But the person who was the target of the internal investigation was on military leave. And so it was put on hold until that person did return. And as you know, he received a 10-day suspension. So we take every death, every person's life is important. And we take every death very seriously. And we don't want that to happen again. And we look at ways, how can we do this better to ensure that anyone in our custody and our care is treated with dignity and respect, and will have that the life that is befitting of them. And so, yes, we do have issues in the jail. Staffing is an issue, but we do investigations. We have oversight from not only the state agencies, but we also have oversight from the federal government and our county board. They inquire as to what's going on as well. And so, although those are tragic incidences that have happened where somebody lost their life, we look at how we can do better. And we will always do that. Even under my leadership, we will always look at how can we make things safer for the next person? How can we, what do we need to put in place to make sure that that person knows that there's hope? Because when you come in, oftentimes you feel that there's no hope, you are incarcerated, but they have to have hope. And so we are always working to improve what we do, how we do it as well. Thank you.
And I'd like to also comment on that. Again, as with both Inspector Barkow and Chief Ball said, I want to extend our condolences to everyone's family that has lost their lives inside the jail. As far as the question goes, as far as doing our investigations, like Chief Ball said, whenever there's a death inside the Milwaukee County Jail, it's investigated by an independent agency. And once that investigation is complete, that's when the internal investigation goes on. So I don't want people to think that we're not doing internal investigations on serious matters such as death in custody. But one thing, it takes time before it becomes a internal investigation. And that's one of the things that I actually will change as the Milwaukee County Sheriff. I want to reduce some of the bureaucracy so that we can respond more rapidly to situations such as this. Being a commander at the Milwaukee County Jail, I see it every day. People come in, a lot of times they are despondent. Sometimes they are possibly intoxicated, and they're not making, sometimes I would say, the best judgment for that time. They're not thinking of the future. So what we are doing right now, and what I want to expand as Milwaukee County Sheriff, is our social workers, our psychiatric staff that'll evaluate every person that comes into the jail, and also reevaluate them as they're there. Because as we all know, the longer a person is in custody, the more that they can deteriorate as far as their mental well-being is concerned. So there's a lot of things that we want to be able to do, but I just want to make sure that everyone understands that we do investigate. It's just that I want to make sure that our investigations are more transparent, more public, and a lot more quicker than they are today. Thank you.
Candidate Awad?
Yes, thank you very much. One thing I would like to mention as far as things that do happen at the jail, whether regarding these negative issues, is we are extremely reactive. And coming from my mental health background, I would like us to be more proactive. We see a lot of these things that are coming before they even happen. You know, one of the individuals that ended up taking his life happened to be just sentenced. You know, he wasn't put on suicide watch. He was in a regular general population housing unit, and he was sentenced to a lot of time, and he was awaiting his transfer. Those are areas usually that should be, okay, we should be paying attention. Red flag. Okay, he's facing a lot of time. He's maybe not in the best mental state. And not just getting our psych social workers involved, but sometimes the best individuals that have the best rapport are officers. I would like us to have a team of mental health certified officers that are going around and visiting these situations and addressing these situations and getting resources to these individuals if needed. Yeah, we're constantly being reactive to situations and then wondering, okay, and then it takes time. When we see things happening, when we can interject, when we're involved, when we're seeing them every day, that's part of, instead of getting second and third hand information, actually being involved, being there and saying, okay, what can we do here? What can we do there? How can we build on this? And while being transparent every step of the way. I've seen many lives saved in the jail as well because of those certain things, but yet it's not consistent. I would like us to be way more consistent and speaking about our faults as well as our triumphs throughout the way. Thank you.
Dorothy, unmute and ask your question.
Thanks. My question is about voting, because there are so many people in the jail who are eligible to vote. And I'm asking this in particular because, number one, voting is a way for people in the jail to participate in civic discourse. And it's really important that they have that connection with the larger community. And the second reason is because I sent an open records request to the current sheriff for the 2020 election, and I never got a reply. I still have not gotten a reply. So I'd like to know your philosophy about ways to at least get people to vote. And I can certainly provide you with plenty of people who can help folks register and who can make sure that they do vote.
Okay,
I didn't hear
for
all
that
of your
question, Dorothy.
question. I didn't hear all of your question because you froze and faded out.
Oh, no.
You were talking about philosophy. I didn't hear prior to that.
Okay, well, it's basically about most of the people in the jail being eligible to vote. And yet several groups have tried to get into the jail to help people with registration, which can be done by computer, and they've gotten nowhere. And we have no way to help people for this coming election. The reason that it's important to vote is obviously because we need those voices as part of civic discourse. And that's part of rehabilitation, which is what the jail should also be about. I said I did submit an open records request to the current sheriff for the 2020 election, and I have received nothing in reply.
Okay. Thank you for the question. We do agree that anyone who is eligible to vote should vote. And when a person is brought into our facility during the orientation period, we let them know about voting, that you have the right if you have the right to vote, these are the steps that will occur. And so we do assign an officer to work with our persons in our care and in our custody, and to determine if their rights have been, if they can still vote. And so we use the website to check, and they can. And if they can, what we do is, if they did not come into the facility with a Wisconsin ID or driver's license, we will send off for one for them so that they can have that. We will request an absentee ballot, and then once we receive that, the person is given the ballot, they vote. We take a picture of their ID, attach it to the ballot, and 2 people are responsible for mailing it off. So we do ensure that those that are in our care and in our custody vote, and they have voted thus far in this election. Thank you.
And Dorothy, again, thank you for your question. When it comes to voting with persons that are in custody, we all have to remember that generally they are pretrial detainees, which means that they've not been convicted of any crime at that time. So they do have the right to vote. And what we do, and what I will make sure that we do, is every person who's eligible to vote will have the opportunity to vote. And as far as disseminating information such as your open records request, I will ensure that every piece of information that we can provide a requester will be honored. But the voting situation in the jail, it's a lot of where we have to stay on top of it. When it becomes election time, it seems that there's so many other things going on that gets ignored in the jail. And like Chief Ball said, there is a procedure for our inmates to be able to vote. However, it's just also to make sure that the officers, the employees, and also the inmates themselves follow the procedure to ensure their right to vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to first start out by thanking you for your own leadership in the county and for your commitment on this important issue. There is a process in place for voting for pretrial detainees, but as with a lot of things, we can obviously do much more, much better. To echo what my opponents have already previously stated, not only do we have special trained officers and special projects that go around and register and assist individuals in our care with registering to vote, but I would also bring in other credible community organizations to provide more information on civic engagement and voting and get that done. The jail is actually going through a technology transition right now with tablets being disseminated to all those in our care. So we could obviously streamline this process much more, I think, efficient, more effective by allowing them to maybe do like some pre-questionnaires on there that can help us facilitate and move the process forward. But to be clear, I am committed to making sure that everyone that is in our care that can vote will vote and will have a voice. Thank you.
Candidate Awad, do you want to answer?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Ms. Dorothy, for your question. That's part of the reason why I decided to run for sheriff, is because of the non-transparentness of the things that we do. It shouldn't be a secret. The sheriff's position is a servant to the community. And for a long time, it has not been treated that way. Just with the voting, for example, I know a few people had things mailed into them, but yet I've had a lot of questions regarding that and had no answers for them, because the transparency is not just with the public, it's also within the agency. Even with the tablets came out, we were given a date, and then 2-3 weeks later, they were on the housing units. I come as a third shift lieutenant, didn't even know that everybody had them. So not only do I want to be more transparent through the agency of the steps we're going to be taking, but also do want to make sure that everybody that is able to vote has the right to do so and the means to do so, because we've been extremely lacking in that area, as well as, well, so yeah, that's as far as how that goes with the voting, and people have not had the opportunities that they should have. With a couple officers that are assisting with that, it doesn't seem to have been enough, because I've answered plenty of questions without any direct answers for them on how we're going to be able to get them that information and able to exercise their right to vote. I like how you brought up the rehabilitation as well, because that's another thing that's zero focus is given to that. We have nearly 1,000 occupants in our care, and the ones who do leave usually come right back. There's no type of information given to them. The rehabilitation that's done is close to zero at this point. And even working in mental health, if we're not building these individuals to operate on the outside, because jail is kind of like a timeout from society. Okay, whatever mishap, whatever crisis situation that you're in, what tools can you gain to get you through that for the next time? We don't offer that. As sheriff, I would like to redivert some of our funds into that. Thank you.
Peter Goldberg, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
When you were giving your biographies, all but Lieutenant Barkow, or whatever your status is, Mr. Barkow, basically just told their biographies and didn't tell the specific problems that they identified that they'd like to address. So with regard to the other three, sort of in bullet point style, not a long discourse, I'd like to hear you list the issues that you see most important in addressing within the Sheriff's Department. And Lieutenant Barkow mentioned the culture within the community, within the department, something I can't know other than when I used to hear grumbles in court from deputies about leadership. And I'd like to know whether you see problems within the culture of the department and what those are and how you'd address them. Sort of sounds in Black Lives Matter to a degree.
Well, thank you for that question. The problems that I see in the community, and as I have went around during the campaign and have talked to people about what they believe the issues are, just so that we're on the same page, so that my understanding of the issues are the same as your understanding of the issues. And it's homicides. As we know, we're at a crossroads. Homicides are through the roof. We have another record-breaking year for homicides. And so as well as non-fatal shootings, auto thefts, reckless driving. And so those are some of the issues that our community is facing, and some of the things that the community has said that they want to address. And so as a result, with my platform, I want to make sure that we all are working together collectively, because of the level of the violence within our community. It's all hands on deck. And so I'll start with my vision for the Sheriff's Office is that we have a stronger, a safer county. And so we do that by working collectively to reduce crime. And first of all, we use technology because we need to know where our problems are, where the trends are, what we are seeing. And so that we can identify those areas. We did it when I implemented, organized, and commanded the neighborhood task force, which is the reason why we were so successful. We were able to drive crime down by double digits. But also, we make sure that we use the other technology, such as the automatic license plate readers. We have some, but we need to expand that program. We also need to use our drone technology in a way that's going to help with the investigations. Because of our limited resources that we have, everyone is trying to pull from the same resources, and we can't, continue to use all the money up in the budget. And so we have to be more strategic regarding that. And also we will communicate, coordinate, and share data with the 19 municipalities. We have to work together. This is one county, but 19 municipalities, and we all have to work together to address crime and disorder so that we can ensure that we have a county that's safe so that people can live, work, play, and pray. And also, we need to strengthen our law enforcement relationships, whether it's on the local level, whether it's on the state level, or whether it's on the federal level, so that we can work together. As I stated before, this is a holistic approach, but also one of the important factors is the community. And so we have to build those strong community relations. We have started doing that with our public affairs and community engagement team, but we can always do more. We know that there's always work to do. And so we need to continue to do that. And as far as morale on the agency, morale is down. I'll just be honest with you. And it's down because of the amount of overtime that they have to work. They are working overtime before their shift or after their shift. And so there are times when one of their off days is taken away from them. So they don't have time to decompress, spend that family time that they need. And so as a result, you know, they're going from assignment to assignment. And as far as our officers in the jail, they're doing 2 and 3 jobs because of the staffing that's over there. And our supervisors are doing the jobs of some of the officers. And so that is one of the things that we have started to work on it by getting our staffing levels up so that once we don't have our workforce working as much overtime as they are, and they can spend that quality time with their family members, or just doing the things that they love to do. And that's going to increase morale. Also, there are some that have a desire to go to various training. And so we're going to make that available for them. So we're moving in the right direction, but there's still a lot of work to do. And so as a result, I am the one that can do this. I can continue to move the agency forward and also address those issues that need to be addressed. And I'm confident that I'm the best person to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Goldberg, to answer your question, as far as what we're seeing as primarily the biggest hot button issue within the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office and the county is the violent crime situation. I mean, it's when we hear violent crime, we initially always think of just the city of Milwaukee. And violent crime is on an uptick throughout the entire county. And one of the things that I want to do in my administration is partner with all the municipalities, create a task force. And that way, each agency, instead of throwing a lot of resources, can throw minimal resources to accomplish the same job, that we can investigate these crimes and possibly and mainly prevent a lot of them. The staffing within the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office is critical. It's not just the jail staff, it's also on the deputy side also. But as far as the correctional side within the Milwaukee County Jail, we need to do something. We need to have some serious discussions with the county as far as creating incentives to make people want to work there and also to keep them there. You can go to a lot of the private companies at this point, and they're offering signing bonuses and retention bonuses, that type of thing. Milwaukee County, up to this point, we've not been competitive when it comes to our labor force. Once we start building our staffing levels, we can reduce our overtime. We can reduce the mandatory overtime that our employees have to work. They will be able to spend more time with their family and enjoy their time off. But currently, we are in such a critical staffing that we need to think outside of the box. We can't continue doing it the way we've always done it. We have to think of creative ways to hire employees. We have to think of creative ways to start working on fighting a lot of the violent crime that we're experiencing every day. Every citizen throughout Milwaukee County should have the feeling of being able to be safe as soon as they walk out of their house. And right now, we don't have that. And we need to partner with all of our jurisdictions within Milwaukee County so that we can all work on the same common goal. Thank you.
Candidate Awad, did you want to add anything?
Absolutely, thank you. So one of our major things is talking about, okay, here's the staffing issues, us being some of the lowest paid in the county. One thing that we're not talking about is the leadership. For, I think it was 2017 when I started, it was right after Clark had stepped away, and we were looking at a transition of a new regime coming in. Our staffing levels actually went up in 2018, 19, from a point to where it was a lot of overtime to almost none, and then it slowly had went down. The pay actually went up during that time. Now we're still some of the lowest paid in the state, however, the pay had went up, and our staffing levels continue to plummet. And while speaking to and doing the exit interviews, I'm seeing it's the same common theme, is the leadership. Without any changes due to a lot of the same individuals in powerful positions, essentially still running the sheriff's office in the same manner. And that's what people are leaving for. These are individuals that are from Milwaukee, that love Milwaukee County, that wanted to be a positive influence here, but they started to realize, okay, if I speak up, say things that could positively affect, that's always not received well. Next thing you know, you're speaking of a problem, but then you become the problem because you're speaking up. So other individuals say, you know what, I don't think I want to be a part of this at all. We thought it was going to be a different regime coming in from the old one, and it didn't change. And that's why we're continuing to see officers and deputies leave. And that's one thing that I would want to change. I would want to make sure that they know that, okay, we're actually going to make some changes here in leadership. We're not just going to make a few name changes and check that box off as completed. We're going to follow through. We're going to hold people accountable. We're going to reevaluate the way that we do our training. A lot of new deputies and new officers are feeling ill-equipped to come in and do the 2 and 3 jobs that they're supposed to do because we're so short. And it becomes extremely overwhelming, and they exit. Not after wanting to, I've seen them leaving in tears, but they just can't safely continue on. That's one thing that I want to change. Thank you.
All right, we have a question in the chat, and we're getting close to 1 o'clock. So I ask each candidate who answers to just keep it to a 1 or 2 minute answer so that we can get through all 4 candidates and not go past 1 o'clock too long. So the question is that proposed changes to the state's bail policies will have a significant impact on your operations. Do you have any position on those proposals? And if they're passed, how will you handle the potentially large increases in the jail population given your population limits?
Well, with the increased changes in the proposed bails coming from the state, honestly, personally, I think it's a good thing that bails are being actually evaluated more to the point as to where the accusation fits the amount of bail. So there is going to be increased population in the jail. Currently in the jail, we are operating at one of our highest capacity limits that we've seen in almost 20 years. And what I want to do as sheriff is make sure that with our increased capacity, that we do have programming, we do have situations where we can maintain our increased capacity. One thing that we can do, and one thing that we are doing right now, is partnering with the House of Correction to send some of our inmates out there to reduce our capacity at the downtown jail. That's one of the things that we can effectively do. As far as in the increase in bail and the bail criteria, I believe that it's something that not only a sheriff, but the community needs that at this time. Thank you.
I would just say, thank you for the question, but I would just say that we have too many people in jail right now. And so, of course, whatever is decided, we will abide by it. But we need to find a way to not arrest people, to put programs in place that's going to assist them with the needs that they have so that they feel that they don't have to go out and commit crime. We don't want that revolving door. We want them to learn once they get there that this is not the place that I want to be. And so as a result, I'm going to do all that I can. I'm going to utilize these programs that are in the community to make sure that I don't come back. And right now, yes, the House of Corrections do assist here and there, but not enough where it's going to make a difference. Right now, we are utilizing Racine County because we have too many people in our jails. So we need to find a way to ensure that those who are thinking about committing a crime don't commit crimes. Those that are already in our custody and in our care, once they leave, they don't come back. Thank you.
I don't, so I don't support the action of quick fixes. The proposals, obviously, as mentioned, is going to drive up jail population without actually making the community safer. You know, I think oftentimes we forget the intent of bail. Bail exists solely to make sure a defendant shows up to court. Innocence is presumed at that point. So if that's where the state wants to go, then maybe we need to consider another approach, maybe like the federal system, where risk is legally built into the system and detention is not predicted on financial status. It's morally wrong, in my opinion, to make detention predicated on one's ability to pay. But obviously, we have situations where someone who is high risk needs to be held. And a federal style system, I think, would address that issue far better than our broken state system. Thank you.
Candidate Awad?
Yep, I do agree with Barkow there. I feel like, you know, a bail should not be dependent on whether or not they can pay or not. However, are we in a position right now to accept a whole lot more individuals? No, we're not. The jail is at max capacity almost every day. The Christensen decree, you know, says that we're supposed to have individuals out of our booking room in a certain amount of a time. We have not been in accordance with even that, and that's you know, before any of changes go through the court. So we are in a horrible position right now in trying to basically keep pace with what we have right now, and we're not doing a good job. So if we were to get a lot more individuals coming through our custody, we're really going to be, you know, in a bad spot.
All right, we're just about at 1 o'clock, so I don't want to intrude on people's afternoons too much, but I would like to give each candidate, we'll go in the same order as we went earlier, just 1 minute to add anything else that we didn't cover because we had the 4 candidates. It took a while to get through some of the questions. So just 1 minute to add anything that you would like the attendees to know today. Go ahead, Candidate Awad.
All right. Thank you very much again, and thank you everybody that participated in this. Once again, I'm Mohamed Awad, running as a write-in candidate, last name A-W-A-D, and I'm running because I actually want to make the changes. I'm not putting anything into what people just want to hear, what they want to see in a song and dance without actually putting in the work. I'm continuing my campaign to run because of deputies and officers and their support and wanting to see me do the right thing and continue to do the right thing. They know that I'm a person of my word, and I intend on actually fixing the sheriff's office for the better. Thank you.
Candidate Beal.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank everyone for participating in this forum today. But I'm running for sheriff, and I believe that I will be the best candidate for sheriff, simply because I want to move our agency forward. I want to do innovative changes as far as how we operate on a day-to-day basis. I want to remove a lot of the bureaucracy. Once we remove a lot of the bureaucracy, we can actually flow with the needs of our community. I want to obviously increase our recruitment and retention throughout the agency, so we can provide better service and more qualified service to the citizens of Milwaukee County. And one of the things that I want to do is improve our transparency with the community. When we have an issue that the public needs to know about and wants to know about, I will not hide and delay it. With one question we had earlier about an open records request where we're stonewalling, I will eliminate that completely. So I am the best candidate for Milwaukee County Sheriff because I want to involve our community in our law enforcement experience. Thank you.
Denita Ball.
Again, thank you for the opportunity. I'm running for sheriff because I am the best qualified person to move our agency forward. Sheriff Lucas have been a good partner in tackling crime, but I have a different leadership style than he. And also I'm running because of my commitment, my compassion for this community, also my passion for criminal justice profession, but also the respect that I have for the people who live in this community, as well as those who put their lives on the line on a daily basis for people they don't know. My platform is crime and safety, education and training, fiscal accountability and responsibility, and mental health and employee wellness. Again, I thank you for your time, and I hope you select me on August the 9th. Thank you.
Candidate Barkow.
Thank you for hosting this. As you heard here today, I'm the only candidate with a comprehensive community-driven strategy to make Milwaukee County safer and more just. As your next sheriff, I will redeploy our resources to reduce violent crime, address reckless driving, and end the crisis in our jail. I'm running to be a servant leader who will live up to our community's trust, just as I have for the last 24 years. And I have the strongest qualifications as a leader and a proven change agent within the county and within the sheriff's office. For the last 24 years, I've always challenged the status quo to work more with our community and come up with creative solutions to the problems that we face. Thank you.
With that, we've hit 1 o'clock, and I'd like to wrap it up and thank the candidates very, very much for attending today and participating. We at WJI really appreciate their time and their effort in today's forum. And our next salon will take place hopefully in mid-September. The speaker's yet to be determined. If you're not on our email list for notices of our monthly talks, please put your name or email address in the chat before you leave, and I will add you to our list. We will try to get today's recording up on our blog, on our website as soon as we can. We have to do a little bit of video editing, but it shouldn't take too much. So look for that in the next day or two on the WJI website on the blog page. And with that, thank you again for attending. I hope you have a good afternoon.